Holy cow. Every time I try to record a video, I hate it if I watch it. And, I don't know. If I'm recording this, I can't, I can get my thoughts out the way I really want to say them or something. So I'm just going to flip through this little book of different thoughts, and somehow this is going to come out better than while I was trying to make certain points. And, I overcomplicate things because I feel like when I'm trying to make a point, I'm trying to make 10 different points. And my point, it was to try to talk about ADHD, broken homes. I make a lot of good points, but I can't stand to watch it. So, and that's another thing. So, with ADHD, there's a need for perfectionism because of insecurity. And, yeah. That's built into early childhood trauma. So what I was trying to explain was just what happens at certain ages, especially 6 years old, psychologically, when you're supposed to be bonding. And I feel stupid saying like the 5th time I try to record it. I watch it and now it just seems and this is takes me a long time before I even really can be okay with my own music and stuff like that. Sometimes I have fun. I've always had fun DJing because I don't feel as critical of other people's music and stuff that I do of mine. And mostly I feel critical of it because when I'm thinking of what I think somebody else would think, and that's absurd. But in some ways it's not, because a lot of times people react to what people do in the case of how somebody else would view it. Sometimes they're not even taking credit for how they view it, I think, if you know what I mean. So anyways, look, I probably won't read any comments if there is any on here or anything like that, because I'm just in the mode of the situation I've been dealing with for a long time now has been so disappointing and troubling and frustrating to me on so many levels that it's hard to feel like any sort of positivity is hard to swallow with the kind of things I've been up against. But I'm not going to go too far into that because it's absurd. It's a lot of things I don't like to do, and all been foiled in one way or another. And it's like it's geared to make me miserable and destroy my things that I was enjoying just fine doing in my life. Thank you very much. Which was music and things, a lot of things, surprisingly. So, even though people with ADHD seem scatterbrained, it's actually just a result of kind of things that really you have to process at a young age. And to name a few would be becoming an independent adult, taking care of a child, taking care of a parent, watching and hearing a lot of fighting, and being used to being a protector uh, and alone, at night when you're young, and going to school and not being very well socialized, feeling picked on and sort of outcasted because you needed extra attention that you don't have, and because your mind works different and not in a very structured way, because there's a lot of emotional stuff going on. So, but what there's to appreciate about having ADD or somebody with ADD, that I believe, is people with ADD are very creative. You can also be OCD. They can get focused on emotional stresses. Have triggers, be sensitive about stuff, which is how I learned about the age 6 and brain development, watching a show about whatever, crime, psychopaths, aggression, something, psychopath probably. But they said most of them in jail for violent offenses had lost their father at age 6. And then I think either I looked it up or they said something about it, but it might have been that I looked it up. But I think I was curious why. And it's socializing, brain developmental time. Just FYI, it's hard on a child, one way or another. I wouldn't do it to try to create a creative child. You're not always going to. You might try to create a problem child, aggressive child, and that's part of it. But that's also part of being misunderstood, poorly treated, like you're not intelligent, or feeling a little awkward, always feeling awkward with relationships, sexuality, because of not having male influence or anyone to tell you really how to be normal once you start going through puberty and stuff. Not being around a couple that are physical, not being kind of used to that kind of contact in general was already kind of my home situation anyways. And so I don't know, a lot of this stuff is, I think, a problem with male-female relationships, not just family relationships. A lot of stuff that is causing problems, I think, in people having traditional relationships, is the fact that there's a role reversal economically, and we don't ever learn how to communicate with each other, or understand how our minds work different. And understanding that is understanding primal survival behavior, where a normal situation would be, say, let's talk about common law marriage. Okay, common law marriage in Colorado became very enforced law because the woman worked hard, the man worked hard, the woman worked hard, cleaning the clothes, making the food, taking care of And they probably didn't have a kid, most of them. They did that, but taking care of a man when he goes out to look for gold to get rich. Then the guy found a bunch of gold, ditches her. She did all that work, right? Um, she needs some compensation. Now the tables have been turned, um, and in my situation, my mother was burdened with what seems the benefit, I think. Um, or I was burdened with it, honestly. Um, and that's another thing. I My mom wanted to keep a house. She got the house that my dad went and worked for. She got him to pay her child support. She had the car and kids, and so she went to school and work. And I took a lot of the brunt at a young age of watching after my little sister and having to grow up quickly, and also deal with her emotional behavior, and um, also being independent at a young age. And when a stepfather comes in, a few years later, 10, it was a whole different way I was treated. And I don't think it was fair. And I don't think anybody really noticed that. All of a sudden, they thought they're going to be parents. They're going to be this, strict, that. I've already became very independent minded, and actually what I considered beyond that. Because honestly, my mom's unpreparedness for consequences of her immaturity, and her immaturity was being manipulative, but also it was trying to get out of her house, religious house, marrying young, a foreigner who grew up in a different family situation, not just a different country, where they have much different expectations and are used to different things. But my father came from a broken home as well, and had a alcoholic father and an alcoholic stepfather, and so I was kind of doomed in a sense. Um, yeah. Uh, so what I feel was a good way to learn about the difference between men and women's communication, understanding of each other, was a book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Um, it explains, things like when a woman tells you, I just wanted you to listen and sympathize and not give me a solution. Um, and you feel sort of insulted, like, well, I'm useless, you know. Um, this is normal. Men are problem solvers. And, do feel like they're supposed to be the protectors, But now a woman goes to work and has a social life and this and that, comes back with some work problem or something. Doesn't want the solution. But, normally, honestly, it's not really their um, instinctual sort of place in a relationship. Instinctually, they would be caretaker of a child, or of a home. And it's unfortunate that these things have changed, but I think there's also this clash with the fact that change has also brought people like an inability to understand each other, and why our primal minds are not naturally equipped to um, change with our changing lifestyles, technology. We have not caught up to the level of using technology correctly, I believe. And I believe there's better ways. And currently, if we don't make better ways, it's just going to kind of become a weapon against us, ourselves, and hopefully we don't wake up it's too late and we can't really fix that we've gone too far before we really consider the ramifications or how things could be done better to actually produce us a better life, a better society, social contract that involve people respecting each other, understanding each other, wanting to understand each other. So, feeling outcasted isn't always economic. In my case, it was. I was in a neighborhood where there's people that were much better off. But I was kind of mad my mom didn't actually go take me to live around people that were from broken homes or take government help and stuff like that. She refused to do that. She was above that. And unfortunately, even the people I knew who were in government housing with single moms, their moms, they had more, a little bit more attention, and they could wear cool shoes to school and not be the only person dressing from the thrift store or whatever. Either way, so I feel like too many times people with ADD get misunderstood, treated unfairly, and some of the stuff can come off as bipolar or something. But you get a lot of stuff going, because you always do. You have to have a lot of projects, multiple things going, stay motivated, and multiple things going on in your mind. But once it becomes, you have this project, that project, once it becomes a cluttered mess, you start to get depressed. You just have to do this one thing, and it drives you nuts because it's hard to ever finish these things. You get on and you keep yourself very busy with ADD if you're productive with ADD. So it can be very frustrating. Like I said, it also is frustrating for feeling awkward, out of place, misunderstood, not as I don't know. I didn't play sports, stuff like that, and I just didn't feel that I could fit in for a lot of reasons. So, and I couldn't blame it on being female or a different race or anything. But that's all I'm saying is that's an easy explanation for a lot of people that might feel like they need a answer to why they do feel like sort of treated different or left out. I think it's mostly just people not understanding. It might never be something that people who come from like a more stable environmental home with two parents, I don't think will ever really understand why there's like this going against the grain sort of devil's advocate thing that becomes sort of a big part of your personality, being skeptical and feeling under attack and feeling mistrust for a lot of reasons, especially when dealing with things that get scapegoated towards you, or feeling disrespected by a parental figure, or females in general seem to just be very eager to take something away from men, and I think it is a part of their being a weaker sex. I think it is subconscious, because they also sort of have to live in a man's world. And my mom never thought she would have to. My mom, she thought she was gonna be a housewife, and She just wasn't prepared for the consequences of, I think, what she did. Made a mistake, and did something very manipulative and wrong. But this is also a survival mechanism that females need to have and have built in for protecting of young, and the fact that they're a weaker sex. Um, but at the same time, men feel a little underappreciated, I think, anymore, degraded and lessened by the fact that they don't get respected for their part in a home, and almost can't, and a lot of times, if they're not able to pay all the bills and take care of the woman. But at the same time, it's not as hard to be a housewife anymore. So what? They got a lot of time and this and that, and then what happens? Look, men and women economically have a lot of issues with the differences between them, and when it comes to sexual sex, and religion gets mixed up in that, and it's a real mess there, because you can't just jump in the first relationship with somebody and never have had sexual closeness at the same time. You want somebody who's been with too many guys, or is too promiscuous, or that you really can't trust. So, I think there's a lot of factors, but the main one that I kind of wanted to hit on is, instead of teaching sex ed, I think it's more important to teach psychology of men and women getting along together. And that would be my suggestion, something along the line of evolutionary survival, understanding it, understanding thinking that goes behind these differences between men and women, and not just on a physical level. I mean, this is madness. The superficiality, hypersexualized commercialism, is kind of just running everybody on their lower chakra, or low on a what do you call it? It's more of an animalistic, primal, mindset that people are stuck in. When it comes to money, sex, materialism, superficial thinking, literal thinking. But what I want to say about dealing with somebody with ADD, because, like I say, my theory is, being a creative person is the closest you can be to God. That's the creator. That's source. So, as narcissistic as it sounds, whatever. I'm kind of sick of these terms, because when I think about it, it's just, it offends anybody to be boiled down to a condition, and this is mostly the human condition, but it's all of our condition in a lot of ways, because it's our state of the economic, social world, and it's sort of turned into madness, I think. And I think it's easy to scapegoat people who are different, and that a lot of times is people with childhood traumas, ADHD, who didn't grow up in a regular family setting, and they know they're different. At a certain point, you have to you start to appreciate it. You start to see the bigger picture. You do know that you take in more about other people and try to understand people more, because you've always had to figure these kind of things out on your own at a young age. And it's a reason for fear, it's a reason for being suspicious, a lot of these things, of others, because You feel bamboozled, and then you feel attacked. At age like that, I had to go to drug classes for marijuana when I was young. For the courts sent me, but it was in a mental ward. But I always went there for the day and left, and they were treating these kids horrible, and they were normal kids, bullying them, and it's grotesque, and it's grotesque what I've dealt with this sort of behavior. Find the person who is easiest to push their buttons because they already have emotional issues at home. People who already, meaning to or not, are pushing their buttons. And like I said, once you get a step farther, that's a whole nother war. It's two men. It's territorial. It's another thing that's it's psychological. So, look, if you have ADD, you have to make lists. You can't get things done when you don't do it for some reason. It's and you sit there and you get them all in your head. Oh, okay, and then you won't make the list. You'll start doing the stuff, and then you'll go start doing something else like this. I should have been making another list instead. I wanted to make something that I felt I needed to put out there. And I do this a lot. I think about the bigger picture on where things are going, and I think very deeply. So make lists, but if you have a kid who's ADHD or something, reward, have positive reinforcement. Don't expect them to be like you or normal or like anybody else, and appreciate it. Biggest problem with that religious nonsense is how it does turn on people who end up identifying with